Hello everyone, welcome back to Atreyu Crochet. So in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet a hat. In fact, it's a Slouchy Crochet hat for men. But you know, as with pretty much all of my patterns, they can also be for women. But I'm going to cater to the men in this video. And you're not going to need many things. Just a pair of scissors, a darning weaving tapestry needle, some yarn. You guys have probably deduced by now that I love my Bernat stripes yarn. This is 5 ounces, 142 grams. It is a medium 4 yarn, so worsted weight. And the colorway is Oceana Stripes. And I'm using a size 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and that is US. Let's get started. So we're going to start out with a slip knot. And you guys know, if you see my other videos, I always pretty much make the slip knot the same way. Insert your crochet hook. Once again, this is size 5.5 millimeter. You're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to slip stitch back into that first chain. So go into the chain, yarn over, and pull all the way through that one, and then through that one. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That will be the height of the double crochet, which is the type of stitch that we're going to use for this Slouchy Crochet hat. Okay, so we've chained 3, and now we're going to chain one more, an extra chain, because that's going to create a spacing between this chain 3 and the double crochet that we're going to make next. So yarn over, go into the center of the ring. So there's your ring right there. See my little finger poking through? That's where you're going to insert your crochet hook. Yarn over. You can put that tail in the back. Just pull on it, get it out of the way. Pull through to the front, 3 loops, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Alright, so we have the height of the double crochet with the chain 3, and then we have that chain 1 there that's creating the space between the chain 3 and then the double crochet that we just made. Now we're going to chain 1 again. Once again, that's creating the space. Now we're going to put another double crochet. So go into the center, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Chain 1. Okay? So there's a space right there. There's also space right there because of that chain 1. Right now we have 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. You want a total of 10 stitches. Okay, so you're going to crochet 7 more double crochets, and then don't forget to do the chain 1. So let's do a couple more on camera. Yarn over, go back in, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Yarn over, go back in, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Okay? Continue doing that, and I will meet you once you get a total of 10 stitches, and that does include this chain 3. Alright, I currently have my 10 stitches. Once again, that is including this chain 3. Now if you're making this for a child, you can put 8 stitches in this circle, or if you're making it for someone that has just a tremendous amount of hair and you want to make it really long and kind of open up to get all that hair in, then you can go 12 or higher. But I'm doing 10, and this fits my head. I'm a guy and I have a lot of hair, so it's sufficient. And yeah, you're going to see how it just opens up by the nature of this mesh stitch that we're going to be doing. Alright, so as I said, I did 10 stitches, and even after this last double crochet, I did chain 1 there. So now we're going to slip stitch into the top chain of this chain 3. So you can either count 1, 2, 3, or you can kind of just look and say, okay, there's the top chain, and then that chain right there, that's the extra 4th chain to create the space. whatever you prefer. Alright, we're going to go into the chain, and I like to get 2 loops when I go into the chain. The way you can do that, the way you can achieve that is just kind of, if you open up the chain a little bit, you'll see at the top of it, it's kind of 2 loops and then 1 loop at the bottom. So if you just kind of dig down, you'll end up with 2 loops on the top. Alright, yarn over, and then this is a slip stitch, so we're going to go all the way through. And as you see, that final chain 1 that we did before we did the slip stitch, it created a space. Alright, now we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so once again, 3 chains to get us to the height of the double crochet, and then that 1 chain, that extra chain, that 4th chain, to create the spacing. So this is an increase round, and that means that in every stitch we are going to be putting 2 double crochets. Okay, remember this chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and it's coming out of this chain 3, which is a stitch. So because we want 2 stitches in every stitch, we need to go back in here and put another stitch, in this case a double crochet. So right where you slip stitch, just go in there and create your double crochet. Yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. And remember that extra chain there created the spacing. Alright, chain 1. The next stitch is here, this double crochet, so we're going to go into it, just the top of it, like we normally do. Slice the icing off the top of the cake with a knife. That's kind of what I always say if you've seen any of my other videos. Yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. But remember, we have to put 2 stitches in every stitch. That's only 1, so let's go back in there and create another one. There we go. Chain 1. Okay, so right now the first 2 stitches of the previous round, they have 2 stitches in them, right? In this one you see 1, 2, and now in this one you see 1, 2. Let's move on to the 3rd one, and I've already chained 1. Yarn over, go into the stitch and create a double crochet, and then chain 1, go back into the stitch and put another double crochet and chain 1. Okay, so now the first 3 stitches of the previous round, 1, 2, 3, they each have 2 stitches in them. 1, 2 for that one, 1, 2 for that one, 1, 2 for that one. Okay, so continue on around to this last stitch and I'll meet you there. So looking at this, I have arrived at my last stitch, and I put 2 double crochets in it, and I did chain 1 there, okay, in preparation to slip stitch. So every stitch in the first round has 2 stitches. See, 2, 2, 2, 2, and so on. Okay, now we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain up, 1, 2, 3, which is right there. Okay, so just go in there, yarn over, pull through, and all the way through. Now we're going to chain 4. So first 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the height of the double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 more, that 4th one, to create the spacing. Alright, so this round has the pattern 1, 2, 1, 2. This chain 3 right here, that counts as the 1 in that stitch. So we're going to move on to the next stitch, which is this double crochet right here, and that's where we're going to put our 2. Now when I say put our 2, what does that mean, Atreyu Crochet? Well, that means that we're going to put 2 double crochets in there, but we're still going to chain 1 after every double crochet. So I put a double crochet in there, I chained 1, and now I'm going to go back in there to put another double crochet. Alright, chain 1. So pretty much after you make every double crochet, you might as well just automatically chain 1, because you're going to have to. Alright, so this stitch has 1, this stitch right there has 2. Remember, the pattern is 1, 2. That means that this next stitch right here that double crochet, it only gets 1. So I just go into the top of it and make a double crochet and then chain 1. Now this next stitch, because that one got 1, this next one will get 2, and I've already chained 1 there. So go into the top of it, that's 1, chain 1, and then go back in, that's 2, chain 1. Don't forget that chain 1. That's going to create the necessary spacing, and that's what's giving you that mesh look. Alright, so far you see 1 for that stitch, 2 for that stitch, 1 for that stitch, 2 for that stitch. So as I said, the pattern is 1 2 1 2. This next stitch, because that was a 2, this next stitch right here gets a 1. Chain 1, and then the next double crochet, which is there, gets a 2. So yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1, and then here's the 2 to go back in there. Yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Alright, so just continue alternating 1 2 1 2 1 2, not forgetting to put the chain 1s in between every double crochet, and I'll meet you back around here. So I've made it back around, and I ended on the 2. So remember, the pattern is 1 2 1 2 1, and the last stitch got 2. I did chain 1 there in preparation for slip stitching into the third chain up. So 1 2 3, that's the third stitch right there, and then that leaves that extra chain for the spacing. So just slip stitch, and don't lose your yarn like I just did. Alrighty, now we are going to chain 3 again. 1 2 3. That's once again the height of the stitch, the double crochet, and then chain 1 more, that 4th chain, to create the spacing. Alright, so let's go back a couple of rounds. In this round, every stitch got 2, so that was the pattern, 2 2 2 2, and so on. In this previous round, the one that we just completed, the pattern was 1 2 1 2. So that's how we divvied up the 1s and the 2s, starting with the 1, which is that chain 3, and then 2, and then 1, and then 2, and then 1, and then 2, and then 1 and 2, so on. For this row, and by the way, this was an increase round, and this was also an increase round. This is the final increase round that we're going to be doing. So instead of the pattern going 1 2, it's going to be 1 1 2, which means you're going to have 3 stitches, and in the first 2 stitches you're only going to put 1 stitch in it, and then for that 3rd stitch it's going to get 2 stitches. So 1 1 2. Let's identify the first 3 stitches. This chain 1, remember that counts as a stitch. Did I say chain 1? I'm sorry. This chain 3, remember that counts as a stitch, and it gets this chain 3, which is a stitch. And then we have that extra chain 1. So that's the first stitch, and I said 3. So 1 2 3. So this first stitch got 1. The second stitch will also get 1. So I just put 1 double crochet in there, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Remember, you're still putting chain 1s after the double crochet. So 1 1, so 1 1, or I should say, so 1 2 3. Remember, 1 1, and then the 3rd stitch gets 2. Once again, I've already chained 1. I know I keep hammering that, but I just don't want you to forget the chain 1s, because it creates the spacing, and that's very important. So yarn over, go into the top of this 3rd stitch, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1, and let's go back in there because this 3rd stitch is due 2 double crochets. Yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Okay, so that's the pattern for this round. 1 1 2. 3 stitches, the first stitch gets 1, the second stitch gets 1, the third stitch gets 2. Let me do one more. Once again, the pattern is 1 1 2. Now that we've completed the 2, we're starting over on the 1. The next stitch is here, it gets 1, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Next stitch gets a 1 as well. Yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Next stitch, which is the third stitch, gets 2. So yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1, but we have to go back in there to put 2 stitches in there. Yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Okay? So that's the pattern for this round. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. And I am going to meet you back around here. Remember, this last stitch should get the 2. See you there. So this is what it's looking like so far. I am almost done with this current round. Just want to pop back one a little early. Alright, so I have 3 more stitches, so I have 1 more iteration of the 1, 1, 2 to do. So yarn over, go into, and by the way, I did already chain 1 right there. Yarn over, go into the top of the stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, next stitch, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1, next stitch, the final stitch gets 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Yes, you still chain 1 even though this is a 2, because you still need that spacing. Yarn over, go back into the same stitch, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Okay, so every single double crochet gets a chain 1 after it, even if it's in a grouping of 2. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Now we're going to slip stitch into the third chain up, 1, 2, 3, pull all the way through. Alright, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. It's the height of the double crochet, and then chain 1 more for the space. And now this is the easy round now, okay? Because we're done increasing, so no more patterns. At least not of the 2, the 1, 2, the 1, 1, 2. It's one very easy pattern. Every stitch just gets 1 double crochet. However, you still have to chain 1 after each double crochet. Okay, so this chain 3 was the double crochet stitch for me, and then I chained 1. Yarn over, and the next stitch it also gets a double crochet because every stitch gets a double crochet. Yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, chain 1. Next stitch is there. Just put a double crochet in there. Keep losing my yarn. Chain 1. Yarn over, go into the stitch, the next one. Chain 1. So notice that every single double crochet in the round below chain 1 gets 1 stitch. Chain 1. Next stitch. Chain 1. Chain 1. Chain 1. Chain 1. Chain 1. Okay? That chain 1 is giving me the spacing that I want. Now, what happens if you don't chain 1 in between double crochets? Well, I'm about to show you. No chain 1. See, you can immediately see by how close those two are and by how significantly less space there is between them that you forgot to chain 1. Don't let that be you. So if you see that, just take it out, go into the previous stitch, pull. Now chain 1 and go into the stitch and create your double crochet the way you meant to. And now all is well in the world again. Alright, so just continue on around and I'll meet you back at this last stitch. Guys, don't forget to put that chain 1 after your double crochet. I'll see you there. Alright, so as you can see, every stitch around got 1 double crochet, and I created a chain 1 in between every single double crochet. Even and especially this last one right there. There's the double crochet, and then there's a chain one right there after it. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing for several more rounds, and I'm going to tell you how many rounds I did, but if you want yours longer, then you can just do more rounds. Okay, we're going to slip stitch into the third chain up, and then we're going to chain 3 and then one more, so a total of 4 chains, and then just continue putting 1 double crochet into every stitch around. So we're done increasing. In fact, this round was not an increase round, right? We only put 1 stitch into every stitch. Basically, we matched to each stitch with the stitch, and yeah, we're done increasing. So now we're just trying to get some length out of this bad boy. Alright, let me finish up this round with you, and then I'm going to set you off to spread your wings and fly. So as I said, I already chained 1, which is there, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the third chain up, 1, 2, 3, and just bring it all the way through. Now chain 1, 2, 3, that's the height of the double crochet. 1 more for that space. This chain 3 has that chain 3, so essentially this stitch has that stitch. And now, like I said, just 1 stitch in every stitch below. So 1 stitch for that one, 1 stitch for that one. Here's a double crochet. Don't forget to chain 1 and just go into the next double crochet. Okay, so this is what you're going to be doing for several rounds, and this is the part of the pattern where you actually just get to very conveniently go on autopilot. So watch a movie or listen to some music or start reflecting on what you've accomplished in life. Whatever you do when you go on autopilot, that's what you can do at this point. There's nothing exciting going on. You're just putting 1 double crochet into every stitch below, and you're chaining 1 after that double crochet. In terms of how many non-increase rounds to do, I'm going to do 15. So remember, this navy blue color, that was the first non-increase round. The way you can tell is that every stitch below only got 1 stitch. Whereas if you go to this row, you see 1, 1, 2. So that was an increase round because I put 2 stitches there. But this one, this very next round up, every stitch only got 1 stitch. So that was my first round. So I have 1 round of non-increase, and I'm starting the second round of non-increase. And I'm going to do, after this one, 13 more non-increase rounds for a total of 15. Once I complete all 15 rounds, I will check back in. Have fun crocheting, you guys. Alright, so these are my 15 rounds of this mesh stitch pattern, and now it's time to do 1 more row, and we're gonna be doing half double crochets. So we've been doing double crochets all along, and now this final row that we're gonna do will be half double crochets. So let me show you how it's done. This time we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. The reason that we're not making that 4th chain is because this round will not have gaps. By the way, if I have accidentally said rows, because this is a circular project, please know that I do mean rounds. I use them interchangeably, unintentionally. I'm just so used to making rows, and I think when I first started crocheting, I was pretty much making square and rectangular projects, not things that went around in a circle. So the default for me is to say row. So, but yeah, if you've heard me say row at any point during this tutorial, I've obviously meant round. And I'll probably say row again. So yeah, just putting that out there. Alright, so anyway, I'm only chaining 3 because this round will not have any gaps. So we don't need that extra chain. We don't need that 4th chain. Alright, and now I am going to put 1 half double crochet into every double crochet of the round below, as well as into every space between the double crochets. Okay, so right here, this chain 3 is for that. Here's our first space. Yarn over, go in like that, yarn over, pull through to the front, and you will have, when you rotate that back around, 3 loops. Yarn over, go through all 3, and that's a half double crochet. The next stitch is this double crochet there, so yarn over, go into the top of it like normal, yarn over, pull through to the front, 3 loops, yarn over, go through all 3, yarn over. The next place that I'm going to crochet is once again at this chain 1 space, so just go in there, yarn over, pull that back through to the front, 3 loops, yarn over, go through everything, yarn over, go into this double crochet now. Okay, and you're just going to alternate chain 1 space, double crochet, chain 1 space, double crochet. Once again, I'm not chaining in between these half double crochets. Okay, there are no chains between the half double crochets. Alright, so just continue on around and I will meet you at this stitch right here. Alright, so I'm back around. I put my last half double crochet in that final double crochet of the round below. So now I'm going to slip stitch, but instead of slip stitching into this chain 3, I'm going to bypass it and go into the top of this first half double crochet right there. That's in that chain 1 space. So I'm just going to go into the top of it, yarn over, and pull all the way through. Now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to cut my yarn and fasten off. Now I am going to take my darning weaving tapestry needle and I'm going to weave it in. So I'm just going to go through these black stitches, since that's the color of the yarn that I'm weaving, and it'll hide better. And when I'm doing that, I'm going to just grab over here and find the loose part, and it's that one. Straighten that back out, stretch it out a little bit, and then I'm going to go back in the other direction, and instead of going right there, I'm going to go right there. If I go in there, then it has the potential to undo what I did, because that's where I essentially came out of, right? See? So I'm going to go back one more and enter there, and then just go through the stitches. Pull. Alright, and you guys also know that I like to leave a little tail that kind of serves as a tag for me, so I can always identify the back of my hats or my tams. I also like this tag or tail to be on the inside, so I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to go through the stitch, yarn it over like that, and then pull it through on this side, and then I'm going to yarn over again and essentially chain 1 and then pull, and that'll create a nice little knot. Alright, you guys, so this is what we have. This is your Slouchy Crochet hat for men using the mesh stitch. It's a beaut, isn't it? It's a beauty. Yeah, so I really like this. I just love the stretchiness of it. Feels like a cloud when you have it on. And in the summer, when it's hot out, you kind of want your hair covered, but you still want a breeze to be able to get through. This mesh stitch is perfect for that because it allows air circulation. So it's a very easy pattern. This mesh part worked up extremely fast. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm already at 15 rows. As I said, you can adjust the size by, instead of starting out with 10 stitches in that initial ring, try 8 or 6. Just make sure it's an even number. And then another way that you can control how wide it gets is by the number of increase rows that you do. So obviously the pattern for that next round would be 1 1 1 2, right? So 3 ones and then the 2 and so on. Or if you want it smaller, then maybe only do 1 increase round and before you start putting 1 stitch into every stitch below. Okay, they call that working it even. So yeah, you have options. I mean, you could use a bigger crochet hook or a smaller crochet hook. You can use a different type of yarn. There are many different combinations of things that will get you the desired result. But you guys are going to want to be looking out for next week's video, because I'm going to be showing you how to put a strap on this tam. Essentially like a drawstring, but it's going to be a strap that's attached. And you can do this for any of the crochet tams or hats that you've made thus far. So it's really cool. The cool thing about this is that you can stop here and this is fine in and of itself. Or you can go on and you may not even feel like doing it right away, but you can go on later and then add a strap to it, you know? Or maybe this becomes stretched out a little bit and you want to control how big that opening is becoming. Then you can put a strap or a drawstring to it. So it comes in handy. Also, one last thing I want to say about this one is that if this opening is still too big for you and you don't want to do a strap or a drawstring, then you could always do a row of single crochets. That'll close up the opening. The more rounds of single crochet you do, the smaller the opening will become, the tighter it'll become. Also, something else that you could do is just decrease the number of stitches, so combining 2 stitches into 1. And I have done that in other tam videos, so definitely check those out. Alright guys, that is it for this video. I will definitely see you in the next one. In the meantime, happy crocheting.